Hello and welcome to another episode of Dance Teachers Academy. I am your host, Jose on the mic, and with me as always is the lovely and talented, amazing dancer May. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. There's something about a rainy day right now outside the studios. We got nice cloud. Keeps people under control. I like it. I dig it.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Under control, really?
Under control, yes it does. They don't get quite as wild out there in traffic. We are today, our host today rather, a gentleman that needs no introduction, but we shall do so anyway. Longtime friend, Mr. Chad Graber. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are y'all today?
I'm doing good. Dude, that shirt's kicking. I'm into it. It really is.
Subtle.
That's one of the nice things about being a dance teacher is you can dress a little more flamboyantly, a little more fashionably, and it's kind of expected. People... You walk into a bank, you probably would kind of question someone wearing a shirt like that.
It's like, what's going on here?
Normal dress.
Yeah.
I like that.
Have
I
fun
like
with it.
So, what do you have? We'll get started here right away because obviously this is Dance Teachers Academy, and you are a dance teacher, as you say.
Been dancing and teaching for going on 30 years now.
30 years?
Yeah. Just a few.
Just a few years.
Yeah.
No dust on you, apparently.
Country Western.
My specialty is country western, but I started with ballroom, and honestly, for people that aren't familiar with it, there's once you get two people linked together, there's a finite number of ways you can move. So it really is all the same. The only difference is what you're wearing and the music you're doing it to.
I was about to say something like that.
But like for competitive country western dancing, we dance waltz, we dance cha-cha, we dance both swings. East
I'm
and
sorry,
West Coast
for country western, you do all these.
Yeah.
Country Western.
Sort of
cha-cha.
incorporated with the music, sort of?
Yeah, there are country western. There are songs that are country western songs that have a cha-cha beat to them. There are country western songs that have waltz rhythm, that have...
Okay.
So it's...
I don't deny it. It's just that I don't listen to enough country music where I'm like, I had no idea.
And honestly, when I was growing up, I was tortured as a small child to some early 70s country music, which I'm sure there are people out there that really enjoy it. And there are some of the songs that I have some nostalgia for, but there are certain songs that if I never hear again, it will be too soon.
Okay. I get you. I've actually heard some of those, but I feel your pain, as it were. So.
Yeah, they actually, there's a guy that wrote one, and it's what you get when you play a country song backwards, and you get your wife back, you get your house back, you get your dog back.
Sure.
Yeah.
All the beer you drank, you get that back?
Absolutely.
I like that. Well, let's not forget the whiskey, too.
Yeah.
Get all our whiskey back.
Not my thing, but go for it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I country western dancing is a big part of culture, especially throughout the South. Really started back, the origin of the competitive dancing actually started back with the release of the John Travolta movie. It escapes me.
Urban Cowboy.
Urban Cowboy, yes, thank you. And bars started holding country western dance competitions because at that point that was such a huge thing all over the country. Mm-hmm. And dancing for country western has now sort of, because of the competitive scene, and it's not so much in the forefront of going out culture anymore, that it has gone more into the studios now, and you see a lot more refined technique, a lot more refined movements, presentation. They make dance boots now that are just as engineered for dancing as ballroom shoes are. Steel shanks, the whole bit. They're actually boots that they make now that don't have an arch support, so you can actually get a point on your foot when you're doing a line, because we like to have nice, clean, pretty lines and not have your foot sticking out going weird and stuff like that. So
the evolution have gone from roach squashing to an actual art form, is what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some amazingly talented dancers. Leads me to one of the things I was going to talk about is coming up here in November. November 10th, 11th, and 12th is Dallas Dance Festival. It is held it's actually in Irving, technically. It started here in Dallas. and you can look it up, DallasDanceFestival.com. It is set to be one of the largest country western dance competitions in the world, short of the World Championships, and it's going to be right here in our backyard. So
Great.
it's really,
Wow, that's kind of cool.
really amazing to.
I might
to
actually
go and-
step in and take a look at that because
Yeah,
I'm curious.
It's and congruent with that, we also have Midnight Madness, which is run by the same group on the same weekend in the same hotel, and that is a swing event. So you get West Coast swing and country western, and we're looking at developing some ballroom competition with that as well. So just have
Great.
a trifecta going for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Wow, that
But and I
sounds-
want to come
that
back
sounds
to
kinda cool.
something that you said earlier about once you get two
Excuse me.
dancers together and you know how they move, because a lot of people really that don't dance or are just kind of getting into dancing, they really feel like this is so separate, like the ballroom dancing and the country western dancing
yeah,
and salsa dancing, and we know that from
Yeah.
where we started.
Yeah.
That really it's an umbrella
It's
with whatever you do.
Now you see, yes, now you see the violence inherited in the system.
Dancing with a partner.
Yeah.
So what under this umbrella of what kind of dance, whatever dance you're doing with a partner, and someone said to me at one time, and it doesn't matter whether it's Argentine tango or country western or ballroom, it's all good dancing is good dancing.
Absolutely, and good movement is good movement. So you have to just think about, if you are holding on to a person in a dance frame, there's a finite number of ways you can move. So whether and I really hesitate to say in any kind of dancing that there's something that's inherently wrong. I don't like that kind of mentality. There are better ways to do things. Mm-hmm. There are ways that are more comfortable, but there's so much gray area as opposed to this is good and anything but this works, because everybody I've taught, there are different body shapes, different mentalities, different backgrounds. Point. And so what works for one body type might not work for another body type. That's and vice versa.
Yes.
So you have to adapt not only how you teach, but how you learn for the body. It's sort of like dress for the body you have, not the body you want, kind of thing.
I've heard that before.
So you have to kind of dance. You have to dance for the body you have, not the body you want.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because if we think about it, the dancer that you are and the dancer that I am, we became that dancer by points from several good teachers.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And
so it does bother me sometimes when a teacher will sort of convince someone that this is the only way to do it, because for sure that teacher had more than one teacher.
Right. Well, and what it's like the rest of life. I work with students so much, and there's so many life lessons to be learned on a dance lesson, that just because something works for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody else on the planet.
That's right.
And so you have to
one size does not fit all.
And that's truthfully why a skilled teacher, it's not just going through the patterns. Mm-hmm. And it's not about just, this is a waltz pattern and this is a tango pattern, or this is a cha-cha pattern or a two-step pattern or what have you. You have to get into the nuts and bolts of the person that you're teaching,
their personality,
how they move, mm-hmm. their personality, what they're comfortable with.
Right.
All kinds of stuff like that, so that when you go to teach them, you're teaching them and not an automaton that's going to do just what you say. Because
so basically you're designing it to their mechanics.
Absolutely, because not everybody moves the same.
No, absolutely.
I mean, just physiologically there are differences through different bodies, and so the body doesn't move the same way. So it's like, okay, that hurts. Let's not do that again. Let's try something else that will get us the same result. There's more than one route to get to the look and feel that you want to have.
Sure. That makes sense.
And frankly, if you're telling a student to do something and it hurts, how likely are they to really want to do that again? Versus something that doesn't hurt. It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we have a
that felt good.
responsibility. I feel like we have a strong responsibility as an instructor to, do things that are going to be safe.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's like I've had in my years of teaching, I've had students from teens, and I'm actually working with a college group now from UT Dallas over in Richardson, and I'm working with their ballroom group, and it's very rewarding. I'm not only teaching classes, but I'm also working with their competition team.
I love it.
Oh,
And
nice.
I remember when I was learning back in college, and I had no money, so it's like for some of that stuff for the competitive team, I do that pro bono because I had people give to me when I was learning, and I want to be able to pay that forward.
Sure.
But and I have several friends. A very good friend of mine works with a huge group down in UT Austin, Sherry Reynolds, who you might look at having on here if you have the opportunity. She's an amazing teacher. She's all of about 5'0" and just an amazing person. And
We might be able to see eye to eye.
yeah,
Literally.
yeah, and donates all her time that she works with the group down at UT, and they are huge, and they have amazingly talented dancers. So they actually, that group I was a charter member of for years ago when I was in college.
Sure.
So it's very rewarding to see that go on. But that, and then I've had students that were in their 90s. Mm-hmm. And you have to gauge what you teach and how you teach, and certainly if it's an older person, making sure that they feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to break a hip or anything.
No, or anything like that. But then I've also, like I said, one of my oldest students, she was 93 when she passed.
Wow.
And we did a 2-man number with her, and we did an overhead lift, and that was on her 90th birthday.
Wow. Good
Yeah, and I mean,
girl.
and she held herself up and lifted her own body, so all we had to do was pick her up.
How long had she been dancing at that time?
She was probably working on gold level ballroom, so she'd been dancing for quite a while.
So her body was prepared for that.
Right,
Even
absolutely. No. We're not just
yeah.
going to throw something at somebody. It's like, okay, it's your second lesson. Let's try some cartwheels. No. Although we do get, you've probably had this too, where you get students that come in and they see all these tricks, and they go on YouTube now and they look up these videos.
Yes.
And we had a studio I used to work for. We had a wedding couple come in, and she had been on YouTube, and she wanted him to pick her up and put her hip on his shoulder like she was this way.
Nice.
Horizontal to the floor. And I'm like,
I would do that in a cartoon form.
I'm like, okay, first off, you've not danced before. I'm not saying that and she was not a petite little flower.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, she wasn't a woman of size, but she was.
Well, that's not something we would do with new students anyway.
No,
even
never,
if he was
never.
a strong guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, she had been on, and she wanted, and I'm like, okay, first off, you've not danced before, so you're really not sure how this is going to work. Secondly, you're going to be in a wedding dress. Mm-hmm. Now,
Have you thought about that?
Call me superstitious, but I think if you get dropped on your head on your wedding day, that's a bad omen.
There's got to be a Hebrew saying.
Or something. I don't know. There's a saying somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, it's like you're wearing a dress that's like going to be made out of taffeta and tulle and all this stuff, and it's satin and it's slippery, and you want him to pick you up, and the picking you up isn't the problem. It's getting you back down on the floor without dropping you on your head.
Yeah.
So
got to make it look elegant.
And she's like, but they made it look so easy in the video. I'm like, yes, because you saw take number 28.
Yes.
What you didn't
Or maybe 200.
Yeah, what you didn't see was the 27 times before where he dropped her on her head.
Yeah.
It's like, they're not going to put the one where you
did it
practically kill yourself on on YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
I love that enthusiasm, but this is what we do have to balance as teachers: enthusiasm and realism.
Realism.
Yeah. Unfortunately, reality does have to come in.
Yes.
It's like, and I don't know about, I'm sure you've experienced this too. It's like, even my own dancing, I hate watching video of my own dancing. It is so demoralizing because
You are not the first teacher I've actually heard say that.
It's
here.
like I'll watch a video of myself and like I'm watching for a student and I'm trying to focus on what the student's doing and what they need to do, and all I can see is it's like, I know better than to do that. Why the heck am I doing that? I'm a teacher. What the heck's going on here? And so it gets kind of frustrating. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to be looking at the student while I'm dancing, while we're watching this video, so I can correct her and not worry about what the heck I'm doing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Absolutely not.
No, I know. This is a video, is DVD, watching a DVD, amazing. And I remember when I was first watching my professional tapes, and I would put it on the TV, and I would run into the kitchen and look behind the wall, and just like peek behind the wall. And go, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Well, I don't want to see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then, then of course you're doing the whole thing. Why did I wear that? Why did I think that looked good?
Yeah.
My hair, that, and then you're like, okay, now I got to watch it again and actually look at, okay, that looked okay. So this is important.
And I tell students when they watch their own video, it's like, I've been there, done that.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're feeling, but let's try and maybe find 5 good things.
Absolutely.
So watch the
that.
video and find 5 good things that you did that we've been working on that you actually accomplished.
This is important. May I add to this? I always tell them, watch it twice. Because the first time you're like, oh gosh, oh no.
I actually had a coach one time tell me, if you're going to watch your dance video, play it 5 times in a row and force yourself to make no mental comments whatsoever.
Oh, that's good.
5 times in a row, just watch it.
Yeah.
And watch it.
Yeah.
And watch it again and watch it again. And on the 6th time, start finding good things, and then you can go and look at the things that you're not happy with.
Yes.
That you have to inure yourself. You have to get used to that first full on, oh my God, why do I even bother? kind of feeling.
Oh yeah, because you've been working so hard.
Right, and you're so emotionally invested in it. And then once you get past that and you've hit yourself over the head with it like 5 or 6 times.
Yes.
Then you kind of go numb, and then you can kind of go and
now I can logically look at it.
Yeah, and look at it without quite so much emotional investment in what you're
That's
seeing.
interesting.
This is so important what you're saying. Such a great plan when you're watching yourself. I like everything that you just said. I absolutely agree with it. And I think it's super important. The other thing that you said, let's select 5 things that you did correctly. Because what I found over the years, not just in the watching a DVD, but on a lesson, I found it was as important, maybe more, to point out the things that were going correctly so that those would continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people don't always realize that. The other thing that I found too is we are all so self-critical. And especially when you're trying to learn to dance, I wish I had $1 for every student that has, and every time a student has told me, this should not be this hard.
Would you be a billionaire right about now?
I would have more money than I would know what to do with, because
just this week I would be rich.
And I tell students, it's like, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yes.
And that you have to take a step back and realize what you're really trying to do. And you're trying to teach your body a whole new way of movement. And we don't think about movement. We walk and reach for things and brush our teeth and eat and everything. And it all involves using our muscles. And we don't think twice. We don't even think once about it, much less think twice about it. Mm-hmm. And so when you're learning how to dance, you have to start paying attention.
That makes sense.
To how your own body moves, so that when you make an adjustment, you're doing so with an educated a control group, if you will. I was actually trained as a scientist. I have a bachelor's in molecular biology, of all things.
Yeah. Hey, that's useful on the dance floor, I heard.
The anatomy actually comes in really handy.
Yes, it does.
But you have to know where you're starting from, so that when you make a change, you know what you did. And then if it was better, it's like, oh, good, then I can duplicate that.
Sure.
And if it wasn't better, you're like, okay, well, we're not going to do that again, and we can go do,
find
figure out, or a different way. But otherwise you're just wandering in the dark, trying to find that bit that feels good, and then when you actually do something that feels right, you don't know what you did, so you can't do it again. And it gets so frustrating for some people. And so that's sometimes I actually find that I'm more teaching people how to learn and how to listen to their own body so that they can then take the dance steps and understand what they're doing from a more fundamental point of view. And it makes their learning process easier, and then we both have more fun.
It's very scientific.
Well,
it is a scientific. I get it.
That's cool. Yeah. I like that.
And then you go to the psychological part of it, which it's like I have couples come in. It's like, I didn't know we were going to get a counseling session along with a dance lesson.
Yeah, you get the bonus plan.
Yes.
It's like, you go stand over there. You stand over there. You practice. I'm going to work in. Okay, you practice. I'm going to work with her. Now you can come and talk to each other, and because sometimes they like. Stop.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because, dance is a slice of life. And when you have a couple that comes in, you learn a lot about them very quickly and how they...
Sometimes more than you want to.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Some wonderful things, too. But conflict resolution, right?
Yes.
You learn about how they handle conflict resolution and how they move forward as a team. And just like in a relationship, what makes a good dance team or dance partnership is you concentrate on what you can do to make it better. I will concentrate on what I can do to make it better instead of going, you need to do this. You need to do that.
Actually, a former partner and I, when I was competing professionally, we actually, before we even started dancing together, one of the agreements that we came to is, I'm not doing something wrong. You're not doing something wrong. We as a team are doing something wrong, and we as a team need to fix it.
That's good.
And didn't always work out that way, but we
sounded good on
you at least try to go at it from that point of view.
Yes.
Because if you're constantly doing this, it's just again, going back to the psychology of it, if you're constantly telling someone else what they're doing wrong, they stop listening to you about half a sentence in.
Sure they will.
And then they shut everything down. And if you're not communicating, you're not dancing. I mean, the one of the things I explain to people a lot is dancing is all about nonverbal communication.
Yes.
The lead has to communicate where he's going, and the follow has to understand that message and then move their own body. Because I ain't carrying you through this. So if I'm going to have to carry you, it's up over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes. And I've told that to near about every student I've danced with. It's like, you got to move you. You're responsible for your own movement. I can show you the way, but you got to get you there. Unless we're actually doing a lift, in which case it's all me.
Well, there's some things that they have to do correctly.
Absolutely.
But
the nice part about that is there's no footwork.
Yeah. Running a circle. No, I'm just kidding. So, what I want to talk about, unless you were think about something, because I want to make sure to talk about you as a judge, and you've judged 21.
Last year, I judged 21 different country western dance events.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Across 2 different circuits. Thank you.
So, before we start talking about that, I want you and I to do the judge's face to the camera.
Actually, okay.
This is a joke, right?
Yeah,
because, But this is terrible because sometimes we as dancers, we're performing, we're competing, and you do a judge face and I'll do a judge face. We're looking at the camera. Sometimes this is what we see from the judges.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Actually, no, absolutely not. Actually,
It seems like we've offended them in some way, or they smelled a fart. Something.
Okay, so
sorry, that's not my style. I'm sorry to say that.
This is actually a very funny story. I had been to Emerald Ball many years ago, and was competing with a student, and was sharing a cab with Marianne Nicole on the way back to the airport.
Oh, she's a
which
big
is
time judge.
Amazing dancer.
Yes. Lovely.
Former Latin champion.
Continues to coach
and
judge.
amazing. And we were talking about judging, and I commented that in the country western circuit that I was at the time competing in, one of the rules for the judges is they actually have to maintain, I believe the phrase is, a pleasantly entertained look on their face. I agree that it's good, but she's like, you have got to be kidding me. And I've actually, in my judging career now, because I've been judging for about 5 or 6 years, as well as competing with students and all that stuff, but I've had students come up to me and teachers. It is so nice to see you watching us and smiling. Mm-hmm. That
apparently a rare occasion.
Well, no, not so much. I mean, it depends on what you're having to actually judge sometimes. But
you have to put the face on.
But
I think it's nice.
It is so relaxing to the student, because if they see a judge scowling, and the judges and all, and what they see and what's actually intended or presented by the judge. Because like in country western dancing, we don't just rank people when we judge. We actually have to give them a score, like an A or a B or C, double A, whatever. And if you have 8 couples on the floor and you have to rank them against a standard or judge them against a standard and give them a score in 90 seconds, it's a lot of mental gymnastics to go through, and so sometimes you're just operating your brain at a very high level, and you're trying to maintain that level of concentration across a 4 or 5 hour, sometimes a 6-hour shift.
Mm-hmm. That's mentally tasking.
It is. I mean, people will come up to me after a judging session. It's like, so what did you think? And I'm like, right now I can't think. My brain is done. It needs a rest. It is vanilla pudding at this point.
Yeah, I can see that.
So,
and it's interesting to know that from both points of view, because I know that there's some judges that have their face, and like sometimes when I teach, my student will say, "What?" And I go, "No, that's just my thinking face. It doesn't mean anything."
Yeah, you smell the burning rubber, because that's
But
stoking the furnace.
But to have that sort of in place, like have a pleasant look on your face, because I think most of the time if someone were making a face like that it was possibly not intended. But I think sometimes
it is.
It is. But it is important for the dancers and the competitors to know that too. Like, oh yeah, they're doing all this stuff. So if they have something going on their face, that doesn't have to do with me. But it is so nice that when they have a judge that is participating in this creation that you worked so hard on,
it should be entertaining.
They look at you and smile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether they like it or not.
I mean,
there's a gesture of you've worked hard.
Yeah, but it's and there are some judges that just again, they're working really hard. I remember Enrique Ramon always looked like a pit bull chewing on a wasp when he was judging. He was just, and that was just, but that was kind of Ramon anyhow. I mean, you remember him.
He's amazing, yeah. I mean, he gave me some of the best coachings I've ever had.
Phenomenal dancer.
But I know the look.
Yeah. That's funny.
You know the look, yeah. So we're going to have to write that one down.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to write that down.
That actually I got from a former employer, Malcolm McLaughlin, used to say that a lot.
Chewing on a wasp.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess in your case, because I was going to bring that up, is that after 5 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is that you're sitting there just churning away, for you, that smile on your face is just muscle memory.
Well, partially, but again, having done so much judging, that you actually get to know the competitors, you get to know the teachers.
Oh, sure.
I've been dancing in country since 1996, so just about 20 years. And so all these people that's one of the wonderful things about dancing, whether it's ballroom, swing, country, any of it. The people that you meet become like family.
Mm-hmm. You get to see them so often.
And you get to see, sometimes I see them more often than I see my own parents.
That may not be a bad thing.
Well, it depends. But
we're not putting you on the spot.
No, but so these people and you know where they started because you've seen them start and you've seen them progress.
Sure.
And so when you see them improving, it's it's actually very easy to smile.
Right, gratifying.
Because you're just like, wow, look, they really got it. They're getting there. And that's, and it's like, because again, having maybe seen them 2 months before at another comp when that move wasn't as solid, and then it's like, wow, you really, and I will
tightened
go,
it up.
If I do notice something and it sticks in my mind, I really do try and make a point to go up to the competitors afterwards and say something positive. I'm not going to go up and say, you really suck today, but because that's not really my nature. People are like, just tell me it's wrong, and I'm like, I don't like that. That's not the.
Here's what I liked about it.
The feel. I'd rather give you something positive.
Sure.
And then say, this area needs a little work.
Tighten that up.
But I'm not going to say it's bad, because the thing I always tell my students when they get all head up, it's like, oh, I want it to be perfect. It's like, well, first off,
that's not going to happen.
First off, there is only one perfect being in this universe. And it's not me, and it's not you, and the one who is perfect could really care less that we're not. It's okay. It's okay to mess it up. If you did it perfect, you wouldn't need me. So at least you're being a productive member of society by providing employment to others.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're help stimulating the economy.
Yeah,
So
stimulate the economy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
perfection is a lovely goal that is completely unattainable.
Right.
So
Yes, it is.
if you're waiting for it to be perfect, know that it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Better is always better, regardless of the increment. As long as you are improving, you will get there. You just have to have patience. And patience with oneself is probably the hardest person in the world to have patience with.
Absolutely.
But if you have patience with yourself and you actually have the desire to do it, you will get there. But like I said, I look at students all the time. I'm like, did you do it wrong on purpose? Because if you did it wrong on purpose, we're going to have a talk.
Yes.
But if you're actually putting forth the effort and you are honest to God, trying to do it correctly, and you're just not there yet, I'm not going to be upset with that.
Yeah, we can work on it.
I can't be upset with that as a teacher, because that's so counterproductive. You have to learn at your own pace, and you're only going to learn as fast as you can learn. So don't compare yourself to someone else.
Right.
Don't compare yourself to me, because I'm crazy about this stuff. When I first started teaching, can I tell you how much ramen I had to eat? I mean, it's like you and
What was your favorite?
Oh, let's not even go there. But you don't sacrifice like that. Like every dancer that I've known, unless you're already independently wealthy to start with.
Right.
Everybody puts in the blood, sweat, and tears. Everybody puts in the hours and hours of tedious, mind-numbing practice to get as good as they are. And not everybody has to do that. Not everybody wants to be that good, and that's okay too. Mm-hmm. But it's about having fun with it. It's about the other thing that I love about dancing is you learn about yourself.
Yes.
I have had students that are going through a divorce. They come in for dance lessons. They are middle-aged. They're not in particularly good shape.
At that moment, devastated.
And I will look at them, and about somewhere along the lines when we start doing a showcase or something like that, I will tell them, you have the right to feel pretty. You have the right to feel attractive. You even have the right to feel sexy. And there are ladies that would not be, and gentlemen too, in any way, shape, or form, anything even close to what the everyday person would think of as a model of beauty, but they still have the right to feel that way.
Sure they do.
And dancing is really a fantasy land. Where else would you go downstairs in a hotel at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and see someone in full ball gown or a guy in tails, hair slicked back, makeup, jewelry, rhinestones on coming out of every single bodily orifice that they have? I mean, you know the look,
Wow.
and I've seen it
Quite
like
the
on
visual.
a Friday. A Friday morning at a comp, and there's a businessman in the hotel, and he comes out of the elevator, and he just starts looking around. It's like, did I just walk into a Fellini film or something? It's very surreal, and so it's not even close to reality. I tell students all the time, it's like, we're going to work on arm styling, and they're like, this feels weird, and I'm like, of course it does. Because no one walks down the cereal aisle in the grocery store and goes, I want some oatmeal. No one does that. That's not reality. Dancing is not about reality. It's about fantasy. It's about storytelling.
And fun.
And it's about having fun and letting go and giving yourself permission to be silly or goofy or sexy or suave or debonair or whatever it is that you feel might be missing from other parts of your life. You have permission.
This is
To
your
do
chance.
it in dancing.
Yeah, wow.
And I talk to students. It's like, I'm gonna get you in touch with your inner hoochie mama. And she's like, I don't have one. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yes
in
you
her.
do. She may be like in a dungeon, locked away in a cell somewhere, but she's in there.
She's suppressed, but we'll
and,
get her.
and we're gonna let her out because this is dancing, and it's okay to let her out here. You can explore parts of your own personality that you don't otherwise get to do.
Yeah, it's like acting, right?
And it's in public, and it gets to be, and you're like, oh, and I invariably, once we make that first breakthrough, then they're like, what are we gonna do for the next showcase? Because they realize it's like, I like it. This is what I was missing.
Yeah.
And
that crazy aunt out of the basement. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I think dancing even more and more so is so important for this world, because if we watch the news and
let's not.
Yeah, or
Pretty much,
Facebook,
yeah.
and amazing how bad news. There really are some terrible things going on.
Absolutely.
Weather related,
Yeah.
and then for people to spend time to then be
Away from
negative and critical, and so I feel like what we do as dancers, instructors, is give something beautiful to this world and help to give
Absolutely.
beauty.
And
So-
even if it's just for an hour lesson,
Right.
that you get away
yes.
from all that other stuff in your life that
Yeah.
is, you can come in. People are like, you tell so many jokes on a lesson. How do you actually get anything done towards the dancing? And I'm like, well, I virtually every story I tell on a lesson or a joke or something is to make a point about the dancing. Sometimes it's a little more circuitous than people might like, but that if you understand, a lot of times it's, again, going back to understanding how the body moves, but the whole thing with reaching for a thing of oatmeal, that no one does that in reality, but this is what you have to think about when you do it, and making a joke about it makes it easier for people to learn.
Sticks in their mind.
It sticks in their mind.
Sure
It's,
does.
It may not be a pleasant memory for them sometimes. Depending on the
Chad,
joke I tell.
Don't know what jokes you're telling.
But that if it sticks in their mind and they own it, so many teachers, and I've kind of had that mentality from the beginning. That's just my personality. But I see so many teachers, and they get so focused on the technique and doing the pattern, and not to say that they're bad teachers, and not to say that doesn't work for some people, but the majority of people are coming in to the studio or wherever they're learning to have a good time, and not to be browbeaten into, this is the way you must do it. And I have to tell this story. This was actually because you were talking about like obstacles I might have overcome and stuff
Yeah.
like that. When I was my first competitive student that I danced with, we're out on the competition floor, and she's done everything great in the studio, and we get on the competition floor, and it's all going to hell. It's just and again, first experience versus several years later where I've had, more to build on, it's like, I just don't know what's going on. And I went and spoke with a friend of mine, as well, Donna Hamza.
Oh, yeah, Donna.
Amazing dressmaker.
Yes.
And amazing
She's kind of the
dancer.
voice of reason.
Amazing dancer. And I said, Donna, I need some help. I've got this student, I won't use her name, but I used her name then. And I said, she's doing great in the studio. We get out on the competition floor, and she's a mess, and I don't know what to do with it. She says, you need to get over yourself.
Oh.
Wow.
And it was kind of a slap in the face, but it made me realize, like I said earlier, she's not doing it wrong on purpose. Donna said she is trying to do everything you have done, everything you have said to her. She is trying her damnedest out there, and she's not doing it wrong on purpose. You need to get over yourself.
Isn't that interesting?
And it was
Good
it
advice.
was an absolute epiphany, and I cannot thank her enough for that actual slap in the face, because it made me a better teacher, because it made me realize, again, the students don't do it wrong on purpose. Mm-hmm. They are trying. They want to do it right, and they are trying. But that's what you're there for, is to teach them how, and not to just show them what to do and expect them to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. Because if they could do that, you'd probably be having lessons from them. If that's all it took, if they were that good, they'd already be there. So
right.
was
Good.
amazing. Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just goes to show you, just important for us to be leaders to our students and good examples. We have to help them with what happens in their brain as well as their body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Sometimes just how you think about the movement changes the movement. I've told students, it's like, I don't want you to try and make this movement happen. I just want you to think about it this way. And your subconscious will change it just enough. You don't need to get out a protractor and a slide rule and a compass and align your pinky toe on the floor just so. Just think about it this way. Think about how you're moving with this mindset, and let the movement take care of itself.
I love it. You sound, I think people would enjoy having lessons with you. I know you're a great judge too. How do they contact you?
How do they contact me? The best way is to send me a text.
Okay, what's the number?
214-95 two-step.
95 two-step.
952-7837.
All right,
Perfect.
there we go.
Thank you so much,
My pleasure.
Chad.
Yeah,
Wow.
on that, we're gonna go and shut this thing down and let you get back to your training or teaching or whatever it is that you got going
off
on.
to the campus this evening to work with a bunch of college kids and have a bunch of fun with it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, Chad, thank you for being here. It's
My
interesting.
pleasure.
As interesting as that shirt was.
And hopefully as interesting as Dallas Dance Festival also. Please look
There
them
we
up.
go. I will go ahead and put that information on there. Amazing May, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you, Jose. Another great podcast.
Yes, it was. All right, folks. Well, this has been another episode of Dance Teachers Academy. Thank you for watching.